Hello, PsychU community. My name is Michelle Jacobs, and I am from the Otsuka Field Medical Affairs team, and welcome you to today's recording, where Caroline Harris will share with us how she felt when her physician informed her that she had a mental health condition. How did you feel when your physician informed you that you had a mental health disorder?
So when my physician informed me that I had a mental health disorder, I was in disbelief for a while. Part of me was relieved to have a label on what I was feeling, and then part of me wanted to prove him wrong with all of my heart. Just partly disbelief and partly feeling relief.
When did you disclose to your loved ones and friends that you were diagnosed with a mental health condition?
So I am one of 6 children, so my family is very large, so I actually sent out an email to my family to tell them that I had bipolar disorder. I didn't know a better way to do it. I didn't know how to sit them all down and tell them such an uncomfortable and, to me, awkward thing. So I emailed them. I got some responses back that were very kind, very empathetic. Some didn't respond back. I think just they didn't know how to respond, which I think is a big part of stigma in general, is not knowing how to respond. And then to friends, I kind of told people just on a one-on-one basis who I felt comfortable telling. There's some that still don't know. I've just kind of done it on a one-on-one basis. So.
Okay. And did you inform any of your other doctors regarding your diagnosis?
I informed my therapist, and that was it.
After you have shared with others information regarding your condition, what were their reactions or thoughts?
One that comes to mind first is one of my brothers high-fived me after I sent that email. I think as a way of saying, hey, you put that information out there, good job. But it actually kind of made me feel minimized. And I've had other friends, kind of say, but you don't act crazy, or but you don't act this way. You don't act that way. I don't see a mood disorder in you. And so I have to sit there and justify and explain myself to people, which is extremely frustrating. So the few people that have responded really well that come to mind are my parents and my husband. Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever felt that you were stigmatized due to your mental health condition from anyone?
I would say that in social work field placements that I've had, I have heard people say, well, a social worker with a mental illness couldn't do this job, or a social worker with a mental health issue couldn't do this job. And that is really frustrating to me, because even though I may need mental health days and I may need breaks, I also need understanding. And I have felt like I haven't gotten that before. And I have also felt stigmatized when friends make jokes about people with mental health issues. When they make jokes about crazy people or, people who are psycho or stuff like that, it really hits me the wrong way.
And do you correct them, or do you attempt to advise them of their coarse types of comments, or do you just let it go?
I attempt to correct them now. I used to not. When I was first diagnosed, I just let it go because, it hurt, but I just let it go because I was still trying to understand my own diagnosis myself. But now I am really trying to make myself be in the habit of saying, hey, you know what? That's actually not a kind word to use. And I have bipolar disorder and I wouldn't call myself that. And would you call me that? And I've literally disclosed my bipolar disorder to people in that way when they say something stigmatizing, which is shocking to them. It really catches them off guard, but I don't feel bad doing that because they're stigmatizing people. So that's been a big thing that I've recently started to do, is calling people out when they need to be called out.
Okay, thank you. How did your mental health condition impact your life with regard to other comorbid medical conditions, if you have them?
So I actually have generalized anxiety disorder as well as panic disorder with agoraphobia, which means that I sometimes have a hard time leaving my house when my panic disorder is very bad. I've experienced many, many panic attacks, and I still struggle with anxiety on a daily basis, even right now. So it's hard balancing all of these things at one time. It's a lot of medication I have to deal with. It's a lot of doctor's appointments that I have to go to. It's a lot of explaining myself to people. It's not just the bipolar disorder. It's also, hey, I can't go to that because I get anxious, or I can't go to that concert because I get anxious in dark, crowded rooms or movie theaters or things like that. So it makes me more complex, but it's part of who I am.
So it sounds like your short-term and long-term outcomes have been changed because of this condition. Specifically, you mentioned around going places. What other, if there are, other outcomes that have been affected by your bipolar disorder?
So some outcomes that have been affected by my bipolar disorder have definitely been school. I decided to go back to school in 2017, and that was a really big decision for me. I had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder a few years before, but kind of didn't believe my diagnosis, and then started medication, then took myself off my medication, which was a very poor choice, then went back to grad school, then had a total downward spiral and went back on medication. So school was greatly impacted by my downward spiral. I had to take a lot of days off. I had to sit in a lot of professors' offices and explain myself to them. I got married during grad school, and wedding planning and my wedding day were really hard for me with my anxiety. And with the bipolar, up and downs, it was very hard for me planning a wedding. And yeah, like I said, my wedding day was full of anxiety. It doesn't mean that I didn't love it and enjoy it and have a great day, but it was really difficult for me to get through the anxiety of being in front of so many people and talking in front of people. So yeah, there's been a lot of different outcomes. There's also been outcomes in terms of medication changes. I've had to change medications a lot, which people think that sounds easy and not a big deal. But it's extremely hard changing medications. There's a lot of not very fun side effects that you have to deal with. I go to bed every night feeling nauseous because of my medication. I get headaches, I get stomach aches, just a lot of different things. I have difficulty focusing, difficulty concentrating. So yeah, there's been a lot of outcomes that have come from having bipolar disorder.
And so you mentioned, you go to bed nauseous. How are you feeling about your overall health currently?
So I do feel like I'm getting stronger, being back on medication. I was in therapy for a little while. I stopped therapy because it didn't fit into my schedule, and financially it was difficult. But seeing my doctor yesterday, he very much encouraged me to get back into therapy. So I feel confident that I'm getting better. I am so much better than I was a year ago. I have not had a panic attack in months. My anxiety is a lot better than it used to be. I would never have been able to do this a year ago. So you can get better because my health is getting better overall. So
fantastic. How did you overcome the barrier of stigma?
It took me several years, and I don't know that I completely have. I still see things or read things that just infuriate me. But like I said previously, I'm trying to call people out where they are, and tell them, it's not right to say things that way, or it's not right to say that at all. But I'm trying to overcome it personally by just not taking things personally, even though sometimes it feels personal. And I'm also just trying to become more confident and educated on my diagnosis, so that when stigma does arise in my life, I can confidently educate people on it. And that's kind of how I've been overcoming it. So.
Okay. And what has helped you the most in your recovery, would you say?
I would say the people in my life, definitely. My doctor, Dr. Manning, has been incredibly helpful. He has been absolutely wonderful to me. He's worked with me for several years now, and he's been very patient and lets me ask him a billion questions. And my parents have been absolutely wonderful. My mom and my dad have come over and sat with me when I've had nights where I felt suicidal. They've come over and just sat with me. My husband has been absolutely my rock. I don't know what I would do without him. Yeah, it's definitely been the people in my life. Medication and therapy are great, but having a good support system, I think, is one of the most important things that you can have when you're overcoming a mental illness. So I would always encourage just getting the right people around you, people who are speaking truth to you and giving you life-giving words. I would always encourage that for someone going through a mental illness, just having the right people around you.
What are your final thoughts regarding self-disclosure and stigma?
I would say when it comes to self-disclosure, do what you're comfortable with. It's a really big thing to have a mental illness. It becomes part of your identity. It's not your whole identity, but it becomes part of your identity. So I think share that with people that you trust. You don't have to overshare and you don't have to undershare. It's completely up to you. And as far as stigma, don't let it get to you, which is far easier said than done, because I've certainly let it get to me at times. But there are people out there that are just like you and who are struggling with the same thing, and I may be one of them. And yeah, just fight it, fight against it. It doesn't have to define you, your illness. So fight against stigma. If people say something that you don't like, do what I'm doing and call them out. If you don't feel comfortable doing that yet, then don't. But just know that you may get to a place someday where you can do that. And as the years progress with this illness, you'll learn more and more about yourself and what you're comfortable with. And I just have a feeling that you'll become more comfortable with self-disclosure and fighting stigma.
That's great advice. And so finally, what advice would you like to share with everyone regarding the road to your recovery?
It'll get better. There'll be a lot of setbacks probably. I still have them. I have days where I still can't get out of bed, and I've been, like I said, on medication for a year and trying to get the right medication for a year. I've been in and out of therapy, and I still have days where I can't get out of bed. I have days where I'm passively suicidal. I have days where I want to self-harm. I have days where my anxiety is so bad I can't do things. I can't see friends. But you can get better is what I really want to leave with people. You can find the right medication, even if it takes a while, because I'm so much better than I was a year ago. I may not be perfect and have reached perfection as far as medication or how I'm doing overall, but I'm better than I was. And during all of this time, I got married. I am earning a degree. I'm getting an MSW. And I did all of this while having an illness. And I don't mean that in a bragging way. I just really feel like other people can do this too. You can do it, absolutely. You can get better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Caroline, for sharing with us your thoughts. This was very brave. Thank you.